What's going on, everybody? It's yours truly, Mufasa Fashaw, coming to you with another episode of Alphacology, man. I know it's been a minute. March, April, May, June. It's been like 3-4 months, man. I took my good old hiatus, man. And I achieved some goals within that time. I still got the book out. Y'all go cop the book, Alpha Male Rules to Live By. It's on Amazon. Alpha Male Rules to Live By. Gregory Fashaw. Yours truly. I just would like to thank everyone. Thank everyone for reaching out to me, making sure I'm good, making sure I'm straight, keep encouraging me to do the Alphacology podcast. It's not going nowhere, fellas, man. I just had to, I was doing a lot of relocating. I'm in the middle of a career change, things of that nature, and we'll jump into that a little bit later. So great deal of things going, got to focus in, got to do what I need to do. And I want you guys to be the most alpha version of yourselves. And as I grow, you guys grow with me. And it's a lot of things we could talk about, could touch on. It's a lot of shit that went down. I still have my personal takes on a lot of things. You guys be giving me some celebrity bullshit to talk about. The whole Will Smith thing. We done been down that road. We already established that he was a beta male, simp, whatever y'all want to call it at the time. All I know is when you put that woman first instead of putting that purpose first, it's a lot of bullshit that's going to happen, that's going to come your way, right? So, with that being said, man, we have to really dig in deep. And this is something personal for me. Like, as I was going through my transition in life, acquiring my properties, more assets and things like that, the economy took a big swing, upturn. I don't want to say a big upturn, but I'm going to start doing a lot of esoteric knowledge. And I do believe in spirituality, and I think everything is based off spirituality, especially when it comes to your environment, your country, the way you serve your country, the way you live in your country, your communities. Is a big spiritual energy drain. And one of the ways they drain us the most in America, the United States of America, in the Western world, is through finances. Believe it or not, finances, the way you acquire finances, the way your financials flow is very, very, believe it or not, spiritual. And I don't want to get too what they like to call spooky with it, but we're going to jump into that, because your spiritual energy and your spiritual flow definitely determines and plays a big part on how your financial gains flow and go. All right. For example, when my spiritual energy is low, I don't acquire many assets or, acquire much money from doing my podcast, because my spiritual energy is low. I'm not pushing that much out, or I actually have to, or when my spiritual energy is low, I know I have to move environments. So my spiritual energy was starting to get very low. That's when I knew I had to grow. I was either outgrowing my environment or my environment was draining me, right? And that's what brought me to this whole podcast here, because I realized a lot in a little bit of time by observing a lot of people. One thing about being the most alpha version of yourself, you can't just come out there sometimes and be like, rah, rah, put yourself out there and jump in the deep end of the pool. Sometimes you got to observe. You got to observe how deep the pool is and the people who swimming in the deep part of the ocean, how they're swimming. You got to see what they're doing. You got to pick up how everything is flowing. You got to pick up the weather. You got to, and I'm just talking about swimming in general, because we take those little things for granted. So what I started doing was sitting back and watching how everybody observe and react to my presence and to me. And that's what really brought me to this. I had to let a lot of things go. I had to actually sit down and forgive my parents for a lot of things. And that's one of the hardest things to do when being an alpha male, being the most alpha version of yourself. You gotta let shit go. You gotta forgive people and just understand who they are. It's kind of like, let's say a poisonous snake, like a snake. You could pick up a snake, you could care for a snake and do all that and nurse that snake back to health, like in the story where the person picked up a snake that was sick and nursed it back to health, and then the snake ended up biting them. And then the woman asked, well, why did you do that to me, snake? Why did you inject poison into me? And you know what the snake said? I'm a goddamn snake. What you thought I was supposed to do? So we got to look at it at the same way. I'm not calling people snakes or anything, but you got to look at people for who they are. And what separates the alphas from the betas, from the simps, they see people who they are and they use it instead of trying to help those people, which you can help them. But you got to use that shit to your advantage. You got to see everybody has something you could use for your advantage, whether it be a lesson to be learned, money you can make off that person. You can harness some of their energy for your benefit. I done seen it all. I done been in situations where I didn't like it, but some good came out of it. And I'm like, damn, okay, let me do this situation again. I know it's going to be a rough ride, but I know some good going to come out of it. You understand what I'm saying? So we have to look at it that way. Like when you start a new career, a new job, of course you're going to start with the low pay. But you know, if you stick to it and get what you need to get, the experience you need to get, you're going to make more money. So it's the same shit. That could be your snake. Just don't get bit by it. You get what I'm saying? So I wanted to go in there because now I'm going to get into the meat and the potatoes of it. Boy. Y'all have to forgive y'all parents. And I'm talking as a father, because even me, I see my shortcomings. I'm not going to be the perfect father. I already know that. I'm not going to be able to teach my daughter every little thing, right? I'm not going to be able to teach my daughters every little thing, but I could be there to support them, love them. And yes, it's going to be very hard, because as much as I'm Mr. Alphacology, I'm Mr. this, I'm Mr. that, I'm going to hold it down. I'm going to be a tough motherfucker like my father raised me to be. My mom and dad still see me as their son, as their boy. And at some point, I realized no matter how much I put my foot down, how much this, how much that, they still going to be my mom and dad. So, with that being said, when I was put in my little financial situation, I actually had to move back home with my parents. Fellas. Not only that, I had to pay their mortgage and their bills. And when I'm telling you, it's certain things that I can't be the boss of, and I refuse to be the boss of. And my parents was really getting on my nerves because, like, shoot, I'm helping them. I'm waiting on myself because they still helping me in a way, because it was real cheap. It was super cheap to stay home still and just pay their mortgage and their bills versus all the bills I acquired to get to the next level. It taught me a lot. It taught me a lot these last few months. While I was acquiring my house and getting my things together, it taught me a lot. It was like, man, I could have been in a better situation financially where I didn't even have to deal with my parents. But I realized the Most High brought me back to that spot so I could learn them from a different perspective. Now I'm a grown man. So I still have to honor my mother and my father. Even though I'm paying for everything and I could do what I want, I still respected my mother's wishes, my father's wishes about their house. You get what I'm saying? And it was kind of frustrating, got kind of annoying, but I kept everything respectful. And what I noticed today, a lot of us don't respect our parents. And, some of y'all have some good-ass reasons. Them people toxic, but you still got to learn to deal with the toxicness or the backhandedness, all of that. You got to. Because what I keep telling you, whether you know it, that snake could bite you, but it's a lot of things a snake could do for you that you could take advantage of. And that's going to help you in the long run. So those talks I had with my parents, I see where they're coming from. I seen their flaws bigger this time because I'm an adult now. So I seen where my parents should have taught me this or should have shared with me this about money or that about money. But I can't, as much as I wanted to blame them, I can't blame them because the environment we're in is ever changing. If the environment stayed the same like it was in the 1980s, my parents would have had the best advice for me financially. But it doesn't. The environment will never stay the same, which is scary for me. And when I'm saying scary, I'm not saying fearful, but it's just very challenging. I'm not going to use the word scary. I hate using the word fear and scared on my podcast. But it's very challenging for me because as a father, I know in 2022, in 2032 is going to be totally different. We don't know how totally different it's going to be. So I have to teach my daughter the present and prepare her for the future, right? So my parents was teaching me the present, the past, the present, and the future. So you got to do all of that as a adult, as a parent. And a lot of you guys aren't forgiving your parents because the way they raised you, but you have not yet to, how can I put it, have your own children. And I don't give a damn what red pill, blue pill, purple pill have to say. Well, some of the most alpha shit you could do is procreate and make more of yourself and continue your bloodline and your legacy. Now, I'm not saying it's smart to have a child at this day and age or multiple. You got to really choose. There's some women out there you could really choose and hold it down that you could have some children with. But y'all got to be on the same page and you got to have a fucking plan. A lot of y'all just have individual plans for yourselves. And what's very challenging for me is I only have a few consultations, which consultations are still going, man. The price changed a little bit, $75. We get your consultation for an hour, still an hour. Anybody know my consultations, they're going to go over an hour anyway. So you're going to get your money's worth. But the most challenging consultations is the ones I do with older men who have kids, who have a family. Those are the most challenging because they're still trying to be the most alpha version of themselves, but they also have to do that in a way that it benefits their family that they made. All right, whether they have sons, daughters, no matter what, you have to. Matter of fact, you got to be the most alpha version of yourself even more when you bring a child into this world. So, with that being said, I see the ins and outs, and we always can critique our parents and nitpick our parents about the stuff they didn't teach us. They should have raised us better. They should have treated us better. And it's always going to come from a place of selfishness, right? Some of our parents was really headstrong and really, really terrible to us, right? You got to forgive them. Because if you don't forgive them, there's no way you could be the most alpha version of yourself. There's no way. You got to forgive them. I ain't say bring them around and be best of friends now, but you got to forgive them. And you got to ask them If you did some messed up stuff and they overreacted to it, you still got to ask them for forgiveness too. If they don't forgive you, that's fine. That's them. But the only way you're going to elevate spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, financially is forgive your parents. You got to analyze everything they did to you that you didn't like and forgive them. Because whether you know it or not, you got a mama, you got a daddy. Half of your mama in you, half of your dad in you. You got to remember that. And a lot of that key to unlocking who you're supposed to be and your purpose in life is knowing those two people, whether you want to know them or not. It's a lot of motherfuckers that we learned about that were evil people. All right. So I don't want to hear none of that shit talking about, I can't learn about evil people, da-da-da-da-da. Bro, you sat in the history class and watched a 45-minute video of Hitler, probably even did homework on him. And that was one evil man right there. Right. So same thing with your parents. You got to see what they did. You got to see what they did wrong. You got to block that shit out, but not in a way it's going to hurt you. You got to block it out or use it as inspiration. I always say, man, you could take negative energy and turn it into positive energy. All right. You don't want to end up like your mom or dad. So, yeah, you should go to the gym and work hard. Right. You don't want to end up like the shape. Like one dude was telling me, man, my dad's so fat. He don't want to go to the gym. I don't want to end up like him. Well, take your ass to the gym. You already know. You already know where your future lies because you have the same body type, phenotype as your father. You already know what happens when you don't go to the gym and you eat like shit. You know what you're going to look like. Look at your father. Look at your mother. And I tell young ladies that shit all the time, too. I said, you want to know what you're going to look like in the future? If you don't work out, you see your mama? You want to be shaped like her? No? All right, then. So you know what you need to do. So I tell people that all the time. I say, okay, you don't want to make the same financial mistakes your parents made. You know what you need to do. And my mom and dad, I got the chance to really talk to them, and I realized how much I was like my parents. Because I to be honest with you, I was making the same financial mistakes my mother and my father made, especially my father. I wouldn't say too much my mom, but especially my father. And he sat down and was like, oh, okay. I said, oh, okay, now I see it. I wish you guys could. And I was still mad at him like, man, I wish you could have helped me more. And then he's like, I wish you could have helped me more. And I'm just like, I do. One of the best feelings in the world is to be able to help your parents. And I gave my parents money. And I gave them this. I gave. I did everything. And sometimes the way they complained to me or was talking to me, I'm like, bruh, did you forget what your son did for you? But hey, sometimes it's like that. And I thought I had it tough until I met a young man on Twitter Spaces a while back. And he was like, man, my mom's suing me. And I'm like, what? Your mother is suing you? That shit gotta be I was like, bro, that's a whole new level of hurt. I'm thinking my parents killing me and you over here getting sued by your mom. Like, God damn. With that being said, man, we're all human beings. We're not perfect. Any person that's a human being got the potential to do you wrong or mistreat you or mishandle you. So you got to understand that it comes with the territory. All right. I had the pleasure of having both my mother and father in my life. They were together and they were very supportive, but they were far from perfect. Right. They were far from perfect. We had good times. We had bad times. We had times where we had money. We had times where we don't have money. And what I've been learning too, me and my father figured this out just a couple months ago. The house is American society, is the American economic structure. And it's actually structured for you to be poor. And it's even more blatant now. Everything is high. And people like to say inflation. Inflation ain't never been 8.6%, fellas. It ain't never been that high. We're getting to a point in America where they're going to pay us based on what we can create, based on how hard we're going to really work, not based on how much experience you have, how much this or that you have. I already see it now. I see a lot of cats who got plenty of experience and don't get paid as much as the cat who just started. And it's not because they know somebody, but this person is willing to work harder and smarter. You get what I'm saying? So we're getting to that point. And some of us going to have to carry our parents because now you're the lead. And it sucks because some of you guys are actually being the most alpha version of yourselves. And we're going to talk about building legacies in my next podcast episode, or one of them coming up. Bro, it's a lot of nasty work we got to do because we don't really have a legacy. It's hanging on by a thread. We don't have estates to give to our children. So even if you had a child, you don't have an estate to give to them when you're dead and gone. You don't have nothing for them to learn how to upkeep and protect. You understand what I'm saying? So a lot of us have to do that. That's why I'm saying if you acquire land, if you acquire assets, the first thing you want to do is show your child how to protect and acquire their more assets, your assets that you got for them, and more assets. And I see as I get older, I get more and more into the nuances and deeper into this alpha male mindset, because it's not just, oh, I'm an alpha male, rah, 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 let me sleep with all these women. That's the fun part, right? I'm going to tell y'all boys, that's the fun part. But also that's the part that can fuck your life up too. All right. I think I got it easy. I think I got the light end of the stick. Like, I could have had a bunch of bullshit going on and been player of the year and getting caught up. And, I done been caught up. I done been this. I done had women try to, destroy me in their own little special way. And it's so funny because always keep your woman away from your paper. You keep the woman away from your paper if she ain't making you no paper. All right? I'm going to tell you that. And that's something my father told me. She don't need to see no finances unless she's helping you make some finances, helping you save some money, helping you make money. Then that's when you do it. And we're going to get into that too, man. That's why I always said, man, I appreciate the parents. My parents, they had taught me some great lessons. They taught me some great, even when they ain't do right and made some wrong mistakes by me, I know for a fact there's certain ways I won't treat my daughter or I won't raise my kids just because I know it ain't work for my parents. So you got to understand that. That's also a blessing. Remember, we don't take L's over here in Alphacology, man. Over here in Alphacology land, man, we don't take no L's. We don't take no L's, fellas. We only take lessons, and we learn from them, and we take advantage of that. We even take advantage of our enemies over here. And we're going to really go. That's some shit that and I ain't want to put this out here, but I'm really trying to schedule this. Once I get the laptop going and the real game going, I'm really going to put this shit on Patreon. And the Patreon I'm going to do is not just going to be based off of men, women, things like that. I'm going to bring some specialists in there. I'm going to bring your favorite dating coaches in there. I'm going to bring some cats that I talk to and look up to and I get game off of. And I don't want their time being wasted, and I don't want them doing shit for free sometimes. Because sometimes the shit that I went through, my colleagues went through, some of these men went through, these alpha male men went through, you got to pay for that shit. Because guess what? If I went and paved the way to the road, it's kind of like the toll. You got to pay the toll. If I created a road and a path that you guys could go to for success, yeah, you got to pay for that. You're going to end up paying anyway. Even if you do it your own fucking way, you're going to end up paying. You get what I'm saying? And, the Patreon ain't going to be too much. I ain't going to be busting y'all over the head. or anything like that. But you got to really pay us for this time and this effort and this spiritual energy that we really dropping. Because we really going to be dropping gems. And I want you guys to understand that, man. We going to start talking about legacy building. You understand what I'm saying? Being alpha, being the most alpha version of yourself in a relationship. How to dominate mentally. Because I already know how to dominate physically. That shit started in the gym. All right, how to dominate mentally and emotionally, especially your woman, right? And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how to be fair, how to be smooth with our interactions with people, not just with women, with people. I love treating people fairly, all right? Fair goes both ways. It goes negative way and a positive way, all right? We're going to get into all of that, man. But first things first, man, I really want you guys to forgive your parents, all right? Do the best you can to honor and uphold their name, right? Also do the best you can, because the best thing you really can do for your parents is be the most alpha version of yourself, fellas. And with that being said, you know, like I always say at the end, this is not tea, it's protein. Peace out.